Let me tell you this secret about investors that no one tells you. As stated in one of our previous videos, when it comes to money multiplication, the only proven, the only genuine, or the only safest way to multiply your money is through investment. Having established that, it becomes very important for us to understand some secrets about investors. When you understand this, it makes your investment process a success. It facilitates your investment process, and it also makes you smarter on your investment process. So now let's begin. The first thing is, who at all or what at all is an investor? An investor is a person, is any person or entity, being it a firm or organization, that commits capital with the sole purpose of receiving financial return. That is very important. So the goal of investors is mainly to receive some financial returns. So to do this, several strategies come to play, and those strategies bring about different types of investors. Now, there are several types of investors we can discuss, but in this video, we want to discuss two main categories of investors based on strategies. The first category of investor to talk about is the passive investor. As the name says, passive. Now, with a passive investor, he or she does not commit much time to investing. What they either do is to invest in maybe an index fund, mutual fund, or ETF. What he or she does is to put money aside, commit some capital towards ETFs, that's index fund, with a expectation of receiving capital. And when it comes to the passive investment, they don't necessarily spend much time, or it doesn't necessarily require much time from you. And therefore, as you are being encouraged to invest, if you cannot do anything at all, as we are encouraging you through Ministry and Money Masterclass, among other channels, that if you want to multiply your money, you should consider investing. Therefore, if you cannot do anything at all, you can be a passive investor. So with a passive investor, they usually automate their investment. Say every week or every 2 weeks or every month, I want maybe £100 or €100 or $100, whatever currency you are using to trade or you are using to invest. I want this money to automatically leave my bank account on payday and then go to invest. They do that. That is the first category of investors according to strategy. Now, the second category of investor is the active investor. Now, with the active investor, they are those that we can refer to them as stock pickers. They actually select specific stocks, specific companies. They invest in individual companies, say maybe Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir, SoFi, a whole lot, and so on and so forth. So they identify specific stocks that they want to invest. They do technical analysis, they do fundamental analysis, they do evaluation to see the strength of these companies, and they invest in them. So that is the active investor. Now, many a times the active investor will need to commit a lot of time following the companies or the stock that they've selected. The same strategy when it comes to passive and active applies to those who invest or whoever is investing in cryptocurrency too. So what the active investor does is that he or she commits more time, or that firm or company commit much time to their investment. they either automate some of them, and then there are many times that they buy more when the market goes down, a whole lot of stuff. The dollar cost average, so they try to DCA, they try to buy more when there is maybe economic downturn and all of that. So that is the active investor. Now, several researches, including even researches that were done in 2023, proves or shows that those who commit passive, that's passive investors, passive index investing, outperforms or beats those who are investing actively, those who are selecting specific, maybe undervalued stock or companies, or growth companies that they are currently, or at the time of selection, they are undervalued, or their growth are low, and they believe that they are going to grow based on the fundamentals or the information they've read or from the company. Many researches show that it is very difficult to beat, say, the S&P 500, to beat those passive indexed investing. However, there are some techniques that I think you can employ. So whatever I'm saying in this video is not a suggestion for you to go and buy anything, hold it, or sell. These I'm giving you are financial education, and therefore, if you want to make any financial decision, it's prudent that you consult a financial advisor and then do your necessary research. Now, there is a category, that's personally talking about myself, there is a category of investors or investing strategy that you look at it as the hybrid. So a hybrid investor, where you combine what the active investor and the passive investor do. So you combine what these two strategists or these two categories of investors do. So what we know is that the passive investor automates their investment or amount that they are committing weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, and so on and so forth. And then they choose many a times index. So whether it is exchange traded funds, or it is a mutual fund, something, whatever. So for instance, the passive investor can select the S&P 500, and then we'll be investing weekly, monthly. So as a hybrid investor, you create a portfolio. So the first thing to do is to combine the two. So you create a portfolio, and then with the portfolio that you create, what you do is that, say, this, I'm giving you an example. Say you commit 40% of how much you have decided to invest weekly, monthly, depending on your investment or your investing strategy. You commit, say, 40% of whatever you want to invest to let's say S&P 500. So you are copying, or you are tapping in the passive investing strategy. Now with the 60% that is left, you invest between 40 and 50% of that money in some specific companies. Many a times you can consider the first 7 or 10 top performing companies among the S&P 500. So you look at the top maybe 7 to 10 companies. You select few of them across maybe industries, looking at potentials. When you select these, they are more likely going to perform better. Now, if you did select maybe 50% of that, or you did allocate 50% of your of the amount you want to invest to that direction, the next thing to do is to get a structure for the 10%. When it comes to the last 10%, you can consider using the last 10%, part of it or all the 10%, to buy some of the undervalued, maybe, for instance, now we know some companies are undervalued. For instance, Nike is a very good company that is undervalued. So you identify some of the fantastic undervalued companies that are undervalued. If you look at the technicals, you do the fundamentals, you know that this company is way cheap, or whether it is a growth stock, a new company that is coming, and you look at the field that it has, the sector that it has emerged from, you can now allocate the 10% there. Now, what you also do different, the next thing you do different is that with these companies, you review them annually, you review them every year, like what the S&P 500 does. You set a target for it. If you observe the company that, okay, this first year the company performed, the second year the company performed, but maybe going forward the company is not performing, you need to review those companies and replace them with another promising, undervalued, or growth stock you find. You use this strategy to keep your let's say your portfolio always refreshed and having the stronger one. So we see that some companies leave the S&P 500 and others will also come in. So you do that and then you make your portfolio stronger. The last thing you do differently is that instead of just automating your total money like that of the passive investor, this case you automate just maybe, let's say, 50% of your total the total amount that you've allocated to invest. So if it is £100 a month that you are investing, or £100 a week, or £100 every 2 weeks, what you do is that you locate 50% of it. That will be like, let's say, £50 or maybe $50. You allocate it and then you can automate that. You automate that and you invest it for all your portfolio. Now, the remaining 5%, because you are hybrid, you are doing, sorry, the remaining 50%, because you are a hybrid investor, you are doing second part of the active investor. So what you are going to do, you are not necessarily timing the market, but you are following the market, you are following the news. What happens is that even in a bull market is when the market is just climbing higher and higher. When it continues to climb higher, usually within 3 to 6 weeks, the market will take a breath and it might cool down for maybe 4 to maybe 6, 7%. So that any time that the market climbs, you don't buy at the top like the passive investor who is buying regardless of what is happening in the market. What you do is that when the market is in the red and it is, let's say, taking a breath, then you just keep buying. And even with that, you don't buy all together. You can buy in about maybe 3 or 5 let's say payments. So you make 10% out of the 50% left, you buy 10%, and if you see that it's going down further, you buy 10%. The moment you see that it's bouncing back, the remaining 30 or 20 or whatever that is left, you buy it and then you leave it. Then your monthly, if it is monthly, your monthly strategy goes. So the moment the month is due, you allocate 50% straight to your portfolio. Then the 50%, for instance, I use trading 212. So you can keep, you have some money that you are investing, you have another pot where this money is for spending. So you can keep the money there so that it will not invest. So these are some secrets about investing that when you learn it, you understand it, you research around it, and you employ it, there is a higher chance of you beating the S&P 500, beating the passive index investing. This is a similar strategy that Warren Buffett, the Berkshire Hathaway, has been using, and there is a record. This is evident. You can find this news the moment you go, you do your research, you see that Berkshire Hathaway has been beating, Warren Buffett has been beating the S&P 500 for a number of times. And if you employ this hybrid strategy, you can beat the S&P 500 and you can also beat Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, the master, in fact, the champion of investment, or investment as we speak now. So kindly use the comment section to share your thoughts, share your questions, whatever that you find challenging. Kindly use the comment section to share. At this point, if you haven't subscribed, please take a second to click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you get notification for all our upcoming videos. Please remember to like and share the video. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.